I've talked in previous videos about how men need to be more accountable for their actions and choices, but I've also talked about how some things just happen to you that you should not hold yourself responsible for, and you shouldn't allow others to hold you responsible for them either. So which is it? Do we take responsibility for our lives' outcomes or not? So I hate all these fake success coaches and condescending celebrity know-it-alls and scam motivational gurus who advertise the notion that it's all in your hands and that their success was all them. I mean, what else would they want you and themselves to believe anyway? It's a lie that their money and fame was a result of their efforts only, and they know it. But the lie sells, and we buy it. Justin Bieber is a great example of how fortune can be more chance than anything. Even Tony Robbins, the king of motivation and inspiration, simply had the opportunity to be employed and groomed as a kid by Jim Rohn. And he had the fortune of being exposed to that industry. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson both had strong father figures who promoted and encouraged athleticism, not to mention other networking capabilities they had. I wonder if Arnold would have ever had the fame he has today if he was born in a third world country with bad genetics and with an abusive psycho father who disallowed any form of athleticism because it would take away time from studying. How would that have affected his identity early on in life? By the way, personal identity is the most important thing to get you started in life. Just a parenthesis here, I adopted the fitness identity for myself at the age of 30, even though I craved it early on and just wasn't allowed to have it. And as a young adult, it's unlikely to pursue initially anything other than the familiar identity you just happen to randomly adopt from childhood. That's why I always say that life begins after 30. Anyway, it's okay to acknowledge the external dynamics which led you to your failures, the opportunities or lack thereof, or misfortunes that affected your life which were external and you couldn't have had anything to do with. Count your blessings and your curses for peace of mind and a more realistic situational awareness of the world. But how does someone know when they're being realistic and when they're making up excuses for themselves? Simple. You take full accountability only for things that could have potentially been under your direct control as an adult at the time. For example, if you now have chronic insomnia because you were abused as a child, that's not your fault, and there's nothing sustainable you can do about it now because drugs don't work well and have diminishing return. And therapy and bullshit meditation don't work at all. You can't change this about yourself, and you can't let others tell you that you're not doing enough about it. It's just how your brain developed, and you'll never fully get rid of insomnia, no matter how many ignorant yoga experts and patronizing motivational speakers tell you to meditate and BS like that. It's okay to relieve yourself of the burden of responsibility for things beyond you, and it's healthy to stop feeling guilty about your problems on top of it all. On the other hand, when the CEO of the biggest company in the world blames China and other vague reasons for drops in iPhone sales, see how Tim Cook explained Apple's sales drop in the beginning of 2019, that's just making excuses to his shareholders. He didn't blame Apple's failure to catch up with competing phone specs, or for making the iPhone less functional by getting rid of the jack and finger ID, and making it all unjustifiably expensive too, which is all on him, by the way. Another example is Men Going Their Own Way, or MGTOW, which is by now a discredited movement, if you can call it that, since one of its early main spokesmen, Barbarossa, I hear now has a girlfriend, and who I remember years ago was passionate about how all women are the same and men should completely stay away from them. I even have an old video about him. I used to identify with the MGTOW movement because I still think that it is important in helping men wake up to the apparent gynocentrism on the legal and societal level that dominates Western culture from the schoolyard to the office. It's also useful because it points out the false societal conditioning with regard to relationships, which is almost always against the interests of men. But what many men going their own way fail repeatedly to understand is that they are accountable for some of their bad choices. And most of them never stress that while nagging on and on about female nature. If you married a psycho or a gold digger who took you to the cleaners, guess what? You're responsible. You either settled for her because you were too lazy to put in the work and confidence to attract a better woman, or you were too naive or stupid or both to see her for what she really was. And believe me, I've been too stupid myself for staying with ridiculously trashy women. And I recognize that, even though I didn't from the start. And maybe most women are like that. But guess what? You are the reason that that's the case, because despite their misbehavior, you still chase after them. By doing so, you are rewarding and enabling their bad entitled behavior. Don't give me the nonsense of, oh, I couldn't tell. Then you're an idiot and Darwin approves of your misery. And so do I. Especially in this day and age, there's no excuses for lack of knowledge in a field that affects you. I deserved what I got from trashy women, and I deserve the lost opportunities with really good women who I didn't appreciate at the time when I had the chance. You, Mr. Average Frustrated Male, are the reason most women are so entitled. So enough blaming women, and let's start being more accountable for men's role in society. This is what manhood is all about. Only bitches whine and blame, and some MGTOWs seem to only do that. They whine about female nature, and their only solution is money, video games, and sex dolls. Wow, impressive. What a life. Have you ever considered that women are so entitled because men became so weak? Where is masculinity? Oh, but you'll whine about the state empowering women too much with favorable legislation and benefits. Well, the state follows the norms of society. Most men are pussies, willing to bend over backwards if it meant pleasing a woman. So the state will pander to this messed up weak majority of men. And then they whine about being taken to the cleaners by women. No wonder. Go to a traditionalist society, like in the Middle East, and tell me if men are respected by women there. And then you wonder why Western women don't like their own men and tend to prefer men from traditionalist societies who have never heard of feminism, by the way, and who are respected by women and they are treated as men. Why? Because men there don't call themselves pussy feminists, nor do they cower to the accusation of being called sexist. The problem of gynocentrism is male weakness, and among the MGTOW community lies the proof of that. Zero accountability for a large part of them. They whine and they whine and they whine about women. Very few red pill men on YouTube talk about improving ourselves as a solution, without blaming women for their nature. Like entrepreneurs in cars, Yogi Opes, and economic invincibility. These guys are cool. Many of the rest just whine like immature little bitches. Look, I know it's hard being male in the West these days. From state-sponsored school indoctrination to agenda-driven media brainwashing. You're attacked left, right, and center for being a man. They exploit your sexual drive with advertising, but then they condemn you when you express it. You're shamed from being masculine, and effeminate males are being praised. But accountability as a masculine trait comes to us from the biosocially derived hero's journey, present in every memorable legend and Hollywood movie, where a man takes accountability for his problems and does what's in his power, and sometimes beyond even that, to improve his situation by growing and by kicking some ass along the way. Read up on the male archetypes for more on that. The moral of the video. I think it's healthy to understand and acknowledge unfavorable circumstances in your life and not allow others to patronize you about how it was your fault when it wasn't. Holding yourself responsible for things you didn't do, like for example the original ancestral sin, can send you on wild goose chases. Guilt, loss of motivation, unrealistic expectations, self-hate, depression, and failure. On the other side, you should hold yourself accountable for choices you made that were potentially under your direct control as an adult at the time your choice was made. By acknowledging this, it is the only way to improve, and men especially should behave with accountability without expecting others to do it for them. I hope this helps you in your quest to become improved versions of yourselves and get closer to your potential. If you like this video, thank you for listening. You're awesome. If you don't, get the fuck out of here. Go whine somewhere else because you're exactly what this video is about. Thank you for inspiring me with your pathetic nature. Now, a note, it's been a while since I made a comedy video. Next one will be a funny one, guys and girls, so stay tuned.